Come on. Up. After failure.
What's up, guys? Just finished that intense workout with my friends just earlier today, and I am ready to get some work done. Just want to give you guys some quick updates on what's been happening over this past week. So on Monday, I was able to have a ICU class again. Then on Tuesday and Wednesday, I was back on the floor for my 12-hour shifts. And during these 12-hour shifts, this is the first week where I got to be exposed and work with COVID patients on an ICU level. So I have worked with COVID patients before on IMC. The only thing different about ICU COVID patients is that they're a lot more unstable and they have a lot more medication. So just like any other ICU patient, they still have these special drips. They're on Levofed, they're on Precedex, they're intubated. They have all this stuff going on, and I got to have a taste on experiencing all of that. Got to practice especially with titrating these drips as well, to see the effects of what happens if I were to move a medication up by a couple micrograms to dropping it by a couple micrograms, just to see the effect. And my preceptor was very kind enough to explain to me all of the signs, the symptoms, what are the negative effects, what are the expected outcomes when you play around with these drips. So I got to witness firsthand, and overall it was a good experience this week. But now that these shifts are over, I have a lot of work that needs to get done this week. I have a research project that's due on Monday. I have a virtual case study simulation lab that I have to finish for health assessment. And I have a test coming up this weekend as well that I need to finish for pathophysiology. So it's going to be jam-packed. I'm going to try to do my best to get all of this done, or at least a majority of the stuff done I need to get done today, so then that way I could spend a lot more time focusing on that pathophysiology quiz, that test, because that test, when I've taken it the last couple of weeks, it's been getting harder and harder. There's a lot more content that I need to focus on. So if I can finish a lot of my homework, my other stuff, get that out of the way first, I'll be able to prioritize studying for this test coming up on Sunday. So wish me luck, guys, and I hope I do very well, and I hope I kill it. Oh, and before I forget, I wanted to share with you guys this challenge that I put myself on. So since last week, I have been caffeine-free. And I know it sounds kind of funny, and it's kind of weird because, you know, as nurses and healthcare professionals, coffee is like our lifeblood. We depend on caffeine to keep us awake and alert. But I've noticed that over the last couple of weeks, ever since I started NP school, I've been feeling very weak and just completely out of it towards the end of the day. I would have these massive headaches, especially after my 8-hour ICU classes, my 12-hour shifts. I would simply drink a cup of coffee during the day, during the morning, you know, during my normal hours, and then I would have lunch, and then right after lunch, I just completely crash. Like, especially during my ICU classes, I crash. I begin to lose focus, unable to pay attention. And then also in ICU as well, my preceptor has been noticing that I've been getting very sleepy lately after lunch, very tired, and I have to keep waking myself up. So I deduced that maybe it could be either due to stress from school, it could be due to lack of sleep, you know, or also it could be due to the caffeine intake. And I wanted to play around with it, so I decided, you know, what would it be like if I were to cut myself off completely from the caffeine, if I cut myself completely from coffee? And so ever since last week when I started to stop drinking coffee, the funny thing is I feel a lot more awake, I feel a lot more focused, and at the end of the day I don't feel like totally out of it. So it's weird. It's a weird phenomenon for me because this is coming from someone that's been drinking coffee ever since the beginning of high school, which is years ago, and then all of a sudden I decided to quit coffee cold turkey. So I'm going to continue doing this and see, you know, how well it affects me, because you know, to be honest, it really has made a difference. I'm able to get a lot more work done. I feel a lot more focused. I feel a lot more motivated. And it also has, partly it's due to also me becoming a lot more active in my workouts. Instead of, you know, drinking a lot more coffee, I've been substituting it for exercise, such as if I were in a 12-hour shift, instead of drinking coffee, if I'm really tired, I would go run up and down the stairwell at work. And while during my 8-hour ICU classes, instead of drinking coffee, I would take a couple laps going around the building, the education center, just to get myself awake and pumped up. Simple stuff, simple changes like that have made a big difference for me, guys. And let me tell you, it is a total game changer because I feel a lot more ready and I feel a lot more ready to go. So I'm going to continue doing this. I'm going to see how well it's going to work. And if you guys have any opinions on this, you know, feel free to leave a comment right down below in the comment section. I'm kind of interested in hearing your take into this. I guess maybe some people just have weird reactions to coffee like myself. you guys, this is the finished product right here. I had to do an infographic or a visual aid on a nursing theorist of my choosing. So in my textbook for my research class, I chose Kristen M. Swanson's Theory of Caring. Just going to go through it real quick. I was able to go over the origin and background, her main concepts, her assumptions, assertions, the utility and reliability, strengths and weaknesses, and my references. So overall, this, took me about 2 to 3 hours to finish, and I'm very proud of the final product. So this marks one of the major assignments I had to get done this weekend. So one down, another one to go. On to assignment 2. Now I have a virtual case study in which I have to assess this fellow right here, ask him a couple questions, and come up with 3 differential diagnoses. So on the right side of my page, I have the chart. So just like, we're in the hospital, I have the vital signs, the chief complaint, the history of present illness, his medications, and histories. I want to take a look at this information and then come up with questions. So I have a list of drop-down questions I could possibly ask this guy. And then last but not least, I have a review of systems where, based on the assessment data from the history, from the chart, I'll be able to figure out which assessments I need to focus on, which specific body systems I need to do. And then from that, I'll be able to come up with my 3 diagnoses. So wish me luck. Good afternoon, y'all. Welcome to a brand new day. Now, I did get a head start on that one assignment I was talking about the other day, the virtual simulation lab, but I wasn't able to get it done. I was super tired last night, and so I decided, what's the point of staying up, pushing myself to wake up and get this done, where, the quality's not going to be there if I'm super tired. So I decided to put it off, got up early, went to the gym, and I'm not going to lie, I did come out of retirement to play some Pokemon Go, because as you know, it's Pokemon Community Day, and it is featuring my very favorite Pokemon in the world. Let me show you guys real quick. Charmander! So I got myself a couple of Charmanders today. I'm going to show you guys on the screen up here. So got myself some Charmanders. That's my collection. I even got a couple of shiny Charmanders. And so not too bad. I was able to get this done in between going to the gym, getting my workout in, getting some food for me and my family. And then I went home and I got all these Charmanders. So overall productive morning so far. So I do plan on getting as much schoolwork as done as possible so I can clear my schedule and focus on my quiz tomorrow for pathophysiology. So I'm gonna get some work done right now, and I'll show you guys the finished product and we'll go from there. Alright guys, time to get back to work. I just took a shower and now I'm ready to get this case study done. So far what I've done was I got done the first and second part of the case study. So I interviewed the client and I was able to gather enough information. So now I have to come up with differential diagnoses and a final diagnosis. So I'm going to spend the next hour or so working on this assignment. I'm going to knock it out and then I'll kind of work through with what I was able to come up with at the very end after I'm done. Let's do this. Put my headphones on. Alright, and that should be it. So guys, I just finished my online case study and I was able to come up with my diagnosis and differential diagnosis. So what I learned from today, and I learned it from another friend that's also a nurse practitioner school, is how you differentiate your final diagnosis from your differential diagnosis. Is that the differential diagnoses are kind of like coming up with a laundry list of things that you think that the patient may have, and then you ultimately just narrow it down to your final diagnosis. So in nursing school, we learned how to do nursing diagnoses because at that point, as nursing students and as nurses, we are not allowed to diagnose. We can't come up with medical diagnoses. So we have to come up with NANDA approved nursing diagnoses such as ineffective airway clearance, acute pain, chronic pain, things sort of like that. So you come up with nursing diagnoses in nursing school, but in nurse practitioner school, since we are the providers, now we're the ones that are making diagnoses. So when I made my differential diagnosis, I looked at the signs and symptoms that this virtual guy had, and I came up with, what are some possible things that he may have. And so based on his symptoms, he came in for chronic cough, chest pain, and so I deduced, some of the things that I can narrow down was I can narrow down GERD, because GERD can also be caused by, increased coughing, some chest pain that's worsened by lying down. Other things that I ruled out was allergic rhinitis, because the patient was complaining of having seasonal allergies, so I ruled that out. And then also, last but not least, the common cold, because the patient was also complaining of fever, chills, malaise, and headache. So those are my differential diagnoses. At the very end, I ended up coming up with the final diagnosis of bronchitis, because this patient has very productive cough, very mucus, he's very feverish, he has chills, and I felt that because of that, and also the combination of, you know, all the lab results, all of the data that I gathered, that this was the final diagnosis, and that's how ultimately I came up with this final diagnosis. So hopefully I'm going to do well on this homework assignment and I get full credit, because I just spent a good, you know, amount of time working on it, been working on it since last night. So, you know, hopefully it goes well. All right, I'm going to submit my assignment. Ready, set, and go. Still loading in there. Boom. The assignment is now submitted. I am good to go. I just knocked out 2 of the major assignments that were due this weekend. I finished that online case study as well as the infographic assignment. I knew for a fact that those 2 assignments were going to take the majority of my time, and I wanted to get those done as soon as possible, so then that way I can focus on studying for this pathophysiology quiz that I want to spend the rest of my day doing. So rather than, you know, boring you guys and showing you, you know, how I'm studying for the next couple of hours, I'm just going to explain to you my studying process. So for my study process, what I do is I keep my room nice and quiet. I put headphones on, I listen to some good study music in the background, and I go over the study guides that me and my study group had compiled together. So I go over the study group questions, I go over practice questions from the modules that were assigned by the teacher, and I also kind of, you know, just breeze through the chapters to look for key points that, you know, I might have missed in the study guide or outlines. So I go over that, I spend some time over that, and then hopefully, you know, with all this preparation, I will be prepared and I'll be ready to go for tomorrow's quiz. So overall, guys, you know, this is a very productive weekend, especially with those 2 assignments knocked out of the way, and it kind of just gave me some perspective on what it means to be a nurse practitioner. You know, no longer am I just a regular nurse. I'm also stepping in and I'm transitioning into becoming a health provider. And health providers are different from nurses because they have the ability to diagnose, I can order tests, I can prescribe medicines. There is a lot of factors that go into becoming a nurse practitioner. So assignments like this online case study was very interesting because it allowed me to just put myself in the driver's seat of what a real nurse practitioner is like, you know, coming up with diagnoses and ultimately coming up with that primary diagnosis that, you know, I will consult with the doctors and also come up with just a plan of action. So that was very exciting for me. I'm glad that I got to, you know, knock those 2 major assignments out of the way. I'm just going to spend the rest of the day, as I told you guys before, I'm studying for this big quiz tomorrow, and then I'm going to look ahead and see what other assignments that I have due throughout the week so I can knock them out right away, and that way I can just focus on learning and on my experiences in my preceptorship for the ICU. So that's what I'm going to be working on, and thank you guys so much for tuning in. Take care.